Thank you so much to everyone for coming tonight to the Women's Fans Forum. We've got an esteemed panel here, so we'll start off with a few introductions, and then I'll just open the floor to you guys, and you can ask as many questions as you've got. So let's start with Lowri Roberts, our interim CEO at Bristol City Women. First of all, you were announced in December as returning to Bristol City Women. How's it been since you've been back?
Well, I was actually moonlighting in October, as Shahan knows, because there were a few emails going backwards and forwards, and I had to keep telling Shahan and Stuart, you got to keep it under the radar. I'm in October, but obviously we were waiting for transaction to close and everything to be ratified and signed off. So I've actually been in since the middle of October, and what a pleasure it has been to be back at, what I consider my home club. It's where I started my journey in women's football. I'm a failed coach. I don't think we've had this chat about me being a failed coach. Charlotte certainly doesn't come to me asking for any football advice, so I think that says a lot about my coaching abilities. A failed football coach that transitioned then into to off-field roles, and back in the start of the WSL days, I think it was our second season of WSL in 2012, 2013, I was general manager, but it was jack of all trades. There was only 2 full-time members of staff at that time. I was the only full-time member of staff that was focusing on everything off the pitch. So that was from commercial, marketing, community programs, to team operations. Team operations, Emma, I've dabbled in team operations. And just how the game has grown since leaving in 2014 to coming back a couple of years ago to develop the new women's football strategy, the new 3-year strategy, and to now be fully in as an employed member of staff at the club. Just how the women's game has grown, but how Bristol City Women has grown has been just amazing to see. It feels like a proper professional setup now, whereas before, we were transitioning from amateur to what you would consider semi-professional back then.
And you are working really closely with Mercury 13, of course, acquired a majority stake in Bristol City Women. How's that been, and how's it? It's been a bit of a whirlwind, hasn't it, I guess?
Yeah, I'd say that Mercury 13 coming in now was probably a key part of the reason that I chose to take on this interim position. I went 2 years ago now, I went self-employed as a sports consultant, specialising in women's football. Won't surprise you. I'd left 10 years of working in national governing bodies, so 5 years at the Welsh FA, I was head of women's football there, and previous to that, 5 years at the English FA. And having worked in big governing bodies that historically have been built by men for men. When you look at some of the governance of those organisations, and you look at some of the makeups of council and decision-making bodies, they were largely making decisions through a male football lens first. And so what is really quite empowering and quite exciting is that we have a new majority ownership group in Mercury 13 who are waking up every single day with one thing on their mind. How are they developing and progressing women's football? And how can you not get excited about that every morning when you wake up at 5:30 and leave Wales to drive into the training ground? So yeah, it certainly gets me up, gets me excited to come to work every day.
Love it. Also, on our panel is Bristol City Women head coach Charlotte Healy. You joined from Manchester United in the summer. I mean, you've seen all this change in a few short months as well. But first of all, how do you assess the season so far?
Yeah, I think we're happy with where we're at. I think we've come a long way in a short space of time. We've obviously had a lot of change. You guys have obviously seen the 13 new players pre-January. Obviously, we signed a few more in January, but what you probably haven't seen as much of is the change of staff. I think that's been pretty incredible, really. We brought in, obviously, a couple of technical staff and performance staff early doors, but I think, jumping on to what Lowri was saying about Mercury 13, one of the really important pieces and exciting pieces for me was that they really wanted to invest in developing the workforce. That was really key, is that if we want to attract the type of players that we need to attract to be successful, we have to provide a level of service to them. And every day, and Lowri and the staff are working so hard to put more and more job roles out to make sure that we're giving these players everything that they need, because it's really not easy being a professional footballer. I can vouch for that for Em, is that it takes a lot and it needs a lot of support, and we've had a lot of change in terms of the amount of staff that we've brought in, new job roles, exciting job roles. We've tried to instill a style of play. We've tried to embed new players, embed new staff, and then more importantly, we're trying to win games every weekend. So, look, I think we've done a lot of work. We're really pleased with some performances. We're really pleased with some results. We're frustrated with other results, but I think, look, we know where we're at. We're so early on in this journey. I'm really proud to be here and to work with the players that we work with every day, because they work so hard. And we know in this league that the most consistent teams, your Charltons and your Birminghams, are teams that have built for such a long period of time. So we know where we are on the journey, but we also like winning. So we want to be successful, and we want to do the best we can to get promoted. But we're under no illusion how challenging that is. And I think a lot of the work that myself and Lowri and the other staff speak about is how it's one thing going up to the WSL, but what we know is that teams, when they go up, majority of them come straight back down. So this is a wider piece than just let's rush to the WSL. It's actually, how do we build a sustainable playing squad, sustainable staffing structure, and everything that goes off the pitch too, to make sure that when we go there, we can stay there. And we have to make sure that we're ready, and you can't just act like a WSL 1 club when you get there. You have to make sure that we're putting the building blocks in place now. And I know all the staff are sick to death of that saying of, but we know that. We know where we're at. So, yes, we want to win every weekend. Yes, we want to get promoted. Yes, we're ultra competitive and we hate losing, don't we? But, we know where we're at and we're excited. And, I'm excited to see what's to come here.
And how rewarding has it been for you to see when it does come together? I'm thinking particularly the results and performances here at Ashton Gate.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we love winning, right? That's what we work so hard for all week. And we've had some really exciting results here. We love playing at Ashton Gate. I think our best performances have been here. And I think, even the games that we haven't won, Forest off the top of my head, it was still such a good performance. And it was still such a probably moment in the season that, I look round, and I think I said in the huddle after the game that I learned so much about the players that night, because it's about, instilling an identity and finding a way of playing, but it's also about building a game model that allows us to be successful now. But ultimately, if we go up playing a certain way, you can't play the same way when you get to the WSL. So then that beds into the recruitment, and the work we're doing day to day is that, we have to build a model where we can be successful now. But also we have the players that can adapt and evolve. And I think we've seen that recently. I think before Christmas, we obviously have played some, lovely football, but it doesn't always win you games, as frustrating as that is. And I think in January, we made it a priority that we needed to recruit some pace, that we needed to be able to do to teams what they do to us, because that's how you win games a lot of the time in this league. And now for us, the second half of the season, it's about finding a balance. We still want to play the way that we've spent a lot of the first half of the season playing. But we also, we know that we have to find that cutting edge of scoring goals that we're scoring and, making sure that we're hard to play against. Because ultimately, that's how we're going to be successful in this league.
Great. And lastly on our panel, Emily, Syme, thank you for giving up your evening to be with us. And I think you have a really unique view on Bristol City women, considering you started your career here, and you've just seen so much change, haven't you, in the club. How's this season been in particular, and why did you want to sign a new deal in the summer?
Yeah, I think, similar to Lowri said, this is a home club for me. It always has been. I've had my stints elsewhere. I won't mention any other clubs in the room, but I've come back. I feel like I've seen so much change in the club. I was here maybe 4 or 5 years ago, training at SGS over at Filton College. They put up a marquee, threw some weights in there, and we went in there and were kind of doing the best we could with the resources we had. It's always been a very successful and ambitious club that has really created a culture that makes people feel like this is home. And that's something that I feel very strongly. And seeing so much big change, particularly now, I think it makes me feel very grateful and very proud of how far we've come, because similar to what Charlotte said there, we are on a journey at the moment, and it feels like another big step towards where we want to get, but it's not an overnight thing. There's a lot of change that players and staff and everyone's adapting to, and we're finding how we can use those resources to kind of become a sustainable and kind of a longer term team while keeping the home that we have and the belonging that everyone here, I think, feels.
And in terms of on the pitch, I know you have so much experience, don't you? And what was the Championship, the WSL 2? How is this league this season different? I mean, it feels so competitive.
Yeah, that's the best word to describe it. It's super, super competitive this year. Playing in Championship for a lot of years, I have a lot of experience. And often there's a top couple of teams that kind of run away from it and kind of beat everyone else in the league, and they go up. And as Charlotte said, sometimes bounce back down and another team kind of runs away with it. But this year, every single week, we look at the scores and we think, oh, look what's happened there. We look at the table, we're like, oh my goodness. So it's so, so competitive this year. And every single week, every single point we get matters at the moment. But it makes it such an exciting league to play in and kind of find a way to win each week, because we hate losing and we love winning.
Well, I hope that gets everyone booking their tickets for Southampton this weekend here at Ashton Gate. So what we'll do is we'll open up to questions. What I'll try and do is try and get the best person on the panel to answer that question. So who wants to go first? Don't be shy. Perfect. Okay.
I hope we're starting with an easy one.
So I've been a season ticket for a few years, and I have to say I'm missing the Lansdowne stand. We've been moved over. I understand why we've been moved to the Dolman stand, and it's to do with the broadcasting and the cameras. My question is it feasible to maybe move the cameras and let us go back? Because the atmosphere is so much better in the Lansdowne. I think it's a nicer looking stand. It looks fuller, even if it isn't, because the Dolman stand is so big. We seem to be lost. The ladies come out and we have to look at their backs when the game starts. And I've got a daughter, and in the past, she's always wanted to see the players at the end of the match, get some autographs, get some photos. And this season, since we've been in the Dolman, she's not been interested at all. I think it's kind of like she feels out of it a bit and not so involved. So I'm kind of hoping that we might be able to go back and maybe move the cameras, please.
I'll give you the answer on the infrastructure around TV gantries. It's not a couple of £100 to move a TV structure, a gantry. So it isn't feasible to move the TV gantries. It's something that we have to abide by with the league, broadcast regulations. Obviously, we're trying to grow and evolve women's football, commercialise it as well. So all of the WSL2 games are on YouTube now, which is fantastic to see. And when we're trying to drive fandom from home, drive viewership, drive more commercial interest and investments, it's not a good advert for the league or the game or the club when there is, when it's empty seats. So right now, that's not, we can certainly give that feedback to the WSL. However, it's not something that's going to change this season. I get your point around, feeling a disconnect maybe from the team, and maybe that's something that we can take on board in terms of how we make sure that we're making players available at full time, and maybe that we're promoting that or showcasing that a little bit better in terms of connecting the team with the supporters over on that side, because I get it because Charlotte and the coaches and the bench are all this side, even players warming up, right, they're the other side. But I wonder, is there a happy medium where we can do more to bring the team closer to you guys on the far side? But yeah, I'm afraid the TV gantry situation, it's not an easy fix. It's not something that's, it would cost a significant amount of money, and it's a big infrastructure project.
I went to Charlton and I went to Forest, and the movement hasn't happened there. in Charlton, we were in the main stand. That's where the cameras are. Similar with Forest. So we seem to have obeyed the rules, and some of the others haven't.
I can't comment for other clubs, I'm afraid, and I don't know what kind of telling off or that they're getting from the league. But it's been set that is what we need to abide by. That the fans need to be. We need to build. We need to build a product on TV as well. But I do take your point on board. Maybe there is more that we can do to build that connection between the team on the pitch and the fans the other side. Yeah, because they're having to fit. Yeah, that's the reason why. But I wonder if there's something else that we can do to build that connection a little bit better.
I mean, in fairness, the team do come over. We see you come over after the game. That's not. Yeah, you do. No, and I also I don't disagree with cameras facing the crowd, because I do think we have to grow for a women's game, and we have to make games look exciting for people who's watching it on YouTube and then going, maybe I'll go to the next game. If you show an empty stand, where's the vibes there? No one wants to go to that. So I do think it's a real shame about the positioning of the cameras, because absolutely when we were in W13 and that side of it, it had much better atmosphere. I don't know if it's because the other side has that smaller split level, and so you don't see down. It's hard to see down to the fans below. So even the fans themselves feel a bit disconnected.
Feel further apart.
So it's just, I don't know what the solution is, but and I don't know what the cost of moving the cameras would be, but I'm imagining it's not cheap. But maybe that's something for the club to hold on to in the future, should that ever change.
And that probably, yeah.
It does make a difference to the fan base, I think.
That probably leads us quite nicely on to discussing, match day experience and fandom. That is certainly something you'll probably have seen through Mercury 13's social media channels and everything that they're trying to drive around fandom. Building fandom is a huge priority for them, and already. Well, I hope. Who came to the game the other week? The Sunderland game. Yeah. Did you feel that there was? This is my focus group here now. Did you feel like there was a better vibe, a better atmosphere? Yeah. It was 1,794 to be exact. We are currently third in the highest average attendances in WSL2 this season, and that was actually our highest attendance of this season, only by a couple of hundred. But even a couple of hundred of extra people in that stand, it does adds more of a vibe. And there was so much that we were able to put on in the concourses as well. And so Mercury are really interested to see what can we do this season to drive fan engagement and match day activations. But I think you'll have to wait until next season to see a lot more of that come to fruition as we expand the staffing structure a little bit more. You'll see Charlotte mentioned that there's quite a few new roles that we've introduced to the programme. The focus this season is on the sporting side. Next season, it's how do we evolve and grow the marketing, the comms, the media side of things, and how do we get back to the Maverick match days that we used to have in the WSL 1 season. And I think even looking at some of the commercial partners that we're attracting now, Guinness, for example, fantastic, huge iconic brand, synonymous with sporting events. Away from just the sponsorship deal, they're really interested in partnering with us to build a community feeling around sporting events. So you might have enjoyed a free pint the other week, but that will be, I'm not saying that will be the first of many free pints. What I'm saying is, that will be the first of many activations that we're likely to see from commercial partners that we start partnering up with, because this stadium, we are so proud of this stadium. We went to another ground on Sunday with supporters. You came with us. And I think, even for the staff and players and for fans in terms of the match day experience and the experience of players and staff, we're so lucky with this stadium. And there is so much that we can do in and around the footprint of this stadium. There's, the outdoor area when it's not bloody raining. But the outdoor area, there's, lots of space for us to do activations, and the concourse area as well. whether that is live music, whether that is activations for children to get involved in, panini sticker swap, etc. We've got a beautiful concourse here, and so I imagine you'll see more activity in the concourses.
Thank you for that. I think that's a really important one on the broadcast. Just if we are looking to WSL1 as well, Sky Sports have those rights. So you'll be having Sky Sports broadcast, and they will certainly want the fans in shot. So, it's something for us to feed back, isn't it? They were always asking our opinion on things. But, it's something we had to implement today, this season. And if we're looking to WSL1, it will certainly be ready for Sky Sports. So, all very exciting. Cool. Who's next? No, we've got to have you so we can hear you.
You'll hear me. It's absolutely fine.
Cameras need to hear you, huh? Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll play along.
Thanks, Donna.
That's oh gosh, she knows my name. Two things. We do understand the camera rights things and all of that. Could I advocate for us having our seats back when we start filling the stadium? That's what I'd like.
Right.
That's what I'd like.
As interim CEO that's leaving at the end of the season, yes, you can have your seats back when we fill out the stadium.
Amazing. And the second point was, it was great to have all the entertainment. That really does pull people in. It felt slightly discombobulating because when we landed in the stands, it felt very, very empty. And we couldn't quite work out whether there were enough people here. And then it filled, which was great, but it felt a little bit weird, didn't it? Most of the party when the people that turn up. Yeah. So I don't know if there's something around how the entertainment weaves people into towards the stands, or whether we just need to not go in so early.
But can I just say, I thought that all the effort that was put in for the... If you've ever heard me chant at the ground, I don't even like. All the effort that you guys put in for the Sunderland game was brilliant, I thought, and it really did improve the atmosphere of the game. And if we want to bring in younger fans, which is where we'll grow the fan base from, that's exactly what we need to be doing. The playlist was much better than usual. Whoever did the playlist this for the Sunderland game, keep that going because it does help lift the fans. If you've got good tunes before a game, we respond to that. I would also, one request is when we score, can we have some music? Because other clubs play celebratory songs when we score, and I think some of these goals deserve tunes. So,
Emma's in the back of the room making notes.
Yeah.
Is that something we're allowed to do?
Other clubs do it.
Yeah, the other clubs do it. Did anybody come to the Rugby World Cup games here?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, can we also have the lights flashing on the goalposts as well? Yeah, that was so much fun. But I love that idea about the music after goals. Only after Emily Syme goals. Yes! Oh my gosh. Emma, are you making notes about that? Yeah. Yes.
It seems to be like WSL games at the Emirates. They go for it and have the music after the goals, but WSL2, no.
I've seen it on the WSL2 teams.
Tasking Emma with that on Sunday. If we can make that happen on Sunday, please go nuts. Yeah.
Okay, I've got another question, actually, or I don't know if you know, but I'm part of the Eastern Cowgirls, and they have come together with the Bristol Beer Factory to make a beer. It's being released in March. It's called Cowgirls Supernova. It's being released or put out there for International Women's Day. It's in a can. What do you think we could get that beer at this stadium?
You're asking the wrong person about that. I don't run the stadium.
It's a commercial question, isn't it? But it seems to fit really well. Yeah.
I want to try this beer. And the Eastern Cowgirls, this is 7-a-side, 11-a-side?
It's 7-a-side.
7-a-side.
Part of the casual league.
Yeah, okay, because we talked about this on Sunday, and I told you that us as a staff group want a friendly fixture with you guys as part of our staff social. Charlotte, we ready to get our boots on, play against the Eastern Cowgirls?
Yeah, we're going to training tomorrow. Okay.
I'm normally hungover, so we are very friendly, very so.
Yeah, I've passed that on. I'll pass that on.
Sorry, I couldn't answer your question about cans of your beer behind the bar here, but I'm
Yeah.
sure Sheridan can tell you who to speak to about that.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll work it out. Yeah. Okay, who's next? Sure.
Firstly, I'll just add that the bar downstairs is connected to the Bristol Beer Factory, so there's a tie-in. So it ought to be possible. That's not what I got the microphone. Going back about 4 or 5 years, when we got sort of demoted from the WSL during the pandemic, we sort of had a rebirth. And I think at the time the phrase was, we got to rebuild the club and we got to be a community club. And then possibly about 18 months ago, we had a statement which sort of said, our model is to grow players and sell them, which would add a bit of flack on that at the time. Given the current ownership, what's the philosophy now in terms of the club, in terms of, are we an academy club, growing players, or are we going to have the money and buy players, and or is there a mix or whatever?
Sounds like a wonderful question for Charlotte.
Yeah, I think, look, the academy is something that we're really proud of, and that's the heritage of this football club, and it was a big reason why I wanted to come here. Developing players is really important to me, whether they're M's age or whether they're the young academy players. It's about making players better, right? And it's about giving opportunity to young players, absolutely. As we develop and we grow on this journey, a big part of our strategy and the work that Mercury 13 are doing is to make sure that we grow and support our academy too. And that comes from investment, it comes from workforce, it comes from really just providing them as much resource as possible to ensure that the academy can produce, it can attract the best players in Bristol, and it can develop and produce, opportunities for young local Bristolians who can see a future playing for our first team. That's not changed. I think that's really important to us. But I think what we, as a club, have as a model is that we provide opportunity at the right time for players. So we've had, obviously, Izzy Hebbard has been in our squad this year. She's currently out injured. We have Isla Law, who has been also, come through the academy, has been training regularly with us too, and obviously made her debut in the Conti Cup. So it's about how do we build an academy that produces homegrown talent. Sometimes they will play for our first team. Sometimes they might go on and populate Tier 3 or other WSL2 teams. I think that's really important, that the success of the academy, and I answered this question a lot when I was at Manchester United, the success of your academy can't be how many players you get in the first team, because certainly at Man United, the reality was 95% of those players were never going to get into the first team. But it's about the opportunity, it's about what first steps of their career you can provide them. So of course we want young Bristol players to come and make our first team, but if they don't, we want them to have the best experience they can have, and we want them to go and have a career in the women's game. And for me, when I was academy manager, and I know Nat, our academy manager here, is aligned with this, is that actually we want players to look back in 10 years and say Bristol City was the reason I'm where I am today and played a huge part in my career. So that's really important, that we provide players the opportunity, but it has to be the right opportunity at the right time. What you can't do is have, for example, on a Wednesday, we would love to have 5 or 6 academy players in with us, but they play on a Wednesday. So the reality is they need those opportunities too to go and play in their games programme. And what we know is, as competitive as WSL2 now is, it's full of what were WSL1 players. Look at our own team, Sophie Ingle, Vicky Lasada. The players that are in WSL2 now has made the league so much more competitive. So the reality is, if you want to win and you want to get promoted, you also need to buy players. So it's really important that we get the balance right, and that's something that myself and the coaching staff, Michelle, our head of recruitment, and Lowri, we know our identity, and we will continue to provide opportunities for young players and develop young players. But we also have to invest in the playing squad too, and make sure that we have a competitive squad, because when you look at the investment of our competitors, Birmingham have made what wasn't far off what was 2-3 years ago a world record bid, for a player that they've bought in. So we know we have to invest in the squad to make it competitive, but we also feel really strongly about making sure that we provide opportunities and develop the young talent that we've got.
Just one more comment, which is a question I've asked last year and the year before, is can we have a bit more sort of media on the academy? Because the only time I ever know that we got an academy is the team will be announced and there's a name on there I don't recognize. And I don't know whether we play and we win or we play and we lose or whatever. It's just a general sort of thing, and I could make the same comment on the men's academy. We don't put enough in terms of information about how they're doing or whatever to give a feeling of whether or not it's a success or whatever.
And I think that's maybe looking at, feature articles that we can communicate to fans that talks a little bit more about the philosophy and how we're trying to align our academy to our first team, profile some of the players that are in the first team squad now training up that have come through the academy. But I think we've still got a lot of work to do to build the profile and grow our social media coverage, focusing on individual players in our first team. There's still a lot of people that don't know many of the names of our first team players. They're coming to the game, to a game for the first time. They won't know a lot of these players. We need to make them household names first. And what I will say about the academy, I'm sure Charlotte's got views on this, having been involved in youth football for a number of years, is what we don't want is to expose them to too much social media scrutiny, and because as soon as you start putting things up on social media, it opens up, unfortunately, the dark side of social media as well.
Yeah, no, I'd completely agree. That was the point I was going to make, was that I think we can look at feature articles, success stories of the academy, but I saw, for example, a result in the quarterfinals of the Academy Cup today. It was like 7-0, and something like that's not success for the academy. It's not about the results, and it's not about what those results look like. It's about what is success for us as an academy. And as I say, it's there's a lot of good work that goes on there. So it might not be in match result format all the time or individual players, because again, we definitely saw in my previous club the challenges of that is that fans are super hardcore and super dedicated to the club as you guys are, but sometimes that can go a little bit far for young players. So of course we have to safeguard and protect them as well, because once they're in the limelight, it's very hard to get them out of it. So but for sure, I think as I say, and Lowri mentioned, we continue to grow our workforce in terms of media and what that looks like over the next 12 months. We would like more of the first team as well as the academy to feature online.
Surely there's a question for Emily Syme. She's having a very easy night.
Let's go over here. Okay. Who's going first?
So do you prefer playing at Ashton Gate because of the amazing facilities, or do you prefer playing at the High Performance Centre with a full capacity?
That's a great question. I've obviously experienced both in my time. I had a few years at HPC where, like you say, it was full a lot of the time. But I do recall, and I don't take my word on this, but I think at times we did outgrow HPC a little bit in terms of, yes, people that had season tickets could come in, but we're trying to encourage as many people as we can to come and watch and create kind of the bigger environment that you do get at Ashton Gate and the potential that we have here. And I won't take Lowri's job and speak about the growth of the ambition of that side of things, but for me as a player, I love playing at Ashton Gate because of the stadium feel, because of the changing rooms, because it's a slightly different place to where I go and train every day. It's a big experience. I know that my family love coming to Ashton Gate. My friends, a lot of people that look up to me, role models, people that are coming up and through, like to come and have the stadium kind of tour at times and the stadium experience. So for me, I thoroughly enjoyed playing at HBC. It's a great question, and it obviously has a bigger atmosphere when it felt more full. But I think that that's something that is going to come here at Ashton Gate. And we always do very well at Ashton Gate. It's become our home now. I'm not willing to give that up yet.
Thank you.
Do you have any tips for young girls if they want to start a career in football?
Another great question. For me, I always played for lots and lots of hours because I loved playing football. So I would say if it's something that you enjoy doing, you're going to put more time into it. I had a very good group of friends. I had a lot of people that I went and loved spending time with 2 or 3 times a week. So I would say if you focus on the enjoyment, the hard work will come, and the harder you work, the more likely you are to kind of create and generate a career in football.
Okay, any more questions? Yeah.
Yeah, this is for you, Emily. You look like you're having the time of your life on the pitch. You know, are we seeing what you're feeling?
Yeah, definitely. I think as fans, you can see it, you can feel it. You kind of get the vibes when players are playing with confidence, players are really enjoying the style of play. We have played a lot of very good football this season. That's obviously been a goal of Charlotte coming in and, you know, working on our shorter passes, stop kicking it over the top. But no, it builds confidence and it builds a team chemistry, and that's something that takes weeks to build. We've had a lot of changes, a lot of new players, a lot of quality that have come in, and you kind of have to learn to play with that quality. It's not something that drops just like that. I, on a personal level, yeah, I'm loving this season. It's been a great year for me, and I think I am very privileged to be playing with the players that have made me take the next step up this season, and I hope it's times to come.
Just to say, I always feel very conflicted when I see you do something lovely on the pitch, because I love you doing it for our clubs, but I don't want any other clubs to notice you.
I'm not going anywhere.
If that's too selfish to say. Plus, I've just had your name put on my shirt, and I know I've only just had that done, so, you know. But my question actually is about away coaches. The first away coach was put on last Sunday, and I was on holiday, so I was distraught about that. But I hope there's going to be more away coaches. Maybe, I don't know if Guinness could maybe help sponsor that. I don't know if anyone's asked. I almost got to ask the person who was here at the Sunderland game and didn't quite get a chance to do that. But yes, please more away coaches. I know there's the Arsenal game coming up, and I know that was said that wouldn't be one of the games, but I don't know what the relationship is in terms of what kind of coaches we have, and whether, I'm always surprised it's like a big, massive coach. I love the ambition, but would it be more cost effective to have like a larger minibus or something? Would that make it more? I'd rather have a minibus go to the Arsenal game than a coach, if that makes sense. I really want to go to the Arsenal game. And I think the team need us, you know. We want to be there, we want to be out shouting the Gooners, and I'll personally take up that challenge if you lay on a coach. But, you know, so please more away coaches, and please can we have one for Arsenal, please, please, please.
I can't answer the question on the big coach, why we go for a big coach and we haven't explored minibuses, but I'm going to ask my senior operations and project manager in the back of the room, Emma, to take this away and inquire. We have said to the guys that we were speaking to on the bus on the way down to the Palace game, that certainly that final game of the season, Sheffield away, that is something that we will put on last game of the season, and we know now that this is one of the key things that the supporters are asking for, and we know now if we were to organise that now, we've got far greater time to actually promote that and people get it in their diaries, because I'll be honest, we have been chasing our tails a little bit over the last couple of weeks, couple of months. There's been an awful lot of change in terms at the football club, and so I think now that we know that there's real appetite, we'll look to organise that for the last game of the season. Your question on the Arsenal game, that's not something we're looking to organise, again, just because it's coming up so quickly. There are so many different priorities that we have right now, but we'll commit to doing the last home game, the last game of the season, which is the away game, and we'll inquire about minibuses, and if that's an option.
Just the one thing I would say about the away coaches, and I know this is like a growing thing, so please, it's not a criticism, but what I would really encourage you to do more of
is promote when the away coaches are, because there was some of the social media thing that went out about the game at Crystal Palace saying get your tickets here, but there was no mention of an away coach. And on several of your postings, I was putting on the comments going, and there's an away coach, so really encourage you to get the word out, and have it on the screen at home games. And we'll, as fans, we'll promote as much as we can, but obviously you have a bigger reach as the club.
Yeah, well, and we'll take that on board. We hope that this is, as we go into this new chapter, that we want to get closer to the fans and not be afraid of the fans, but be open to having honest conversations, taking your feedback, and also telling you when we can do stuff and we can implement stuff and when we can't and why we can't. For example, the moving the fans from one stand to the other, explaining to you a little bit more about why we have to adhere to that and how it's not an easy fix around the TV gantries, but also listening to your feedback around, okay, away travel, maybe there's more we can do around signposting to communicate to fans that we're putting it on. So yeah, taking that on board. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add to the point about the away coaches, which was run by the football club in collaboration with the Supporters Club and Trust. I can give an update to the supporters. The reason why the Palace game was the first game to have an away coach was early in the season. The chairman at the time, Gavin Marshall, told the Supporters Club and Trust that the club at the time were not planning to do coach travel, at least for the first half of the season, and then wait to see when Mercury 13 will come in, and then what changes or what coaches they were planning to do for the second half of the season. So I hope that provides an update for that. As for my question for the panel, it's a question I've been thinking about for years, but I feel this year is the right time to ask.
Here we go.
whenever I've seen the team play away in the WSL Championship or WSL 2, go into away grounds and face teams who are affiliated with a men's team, I always hear the relevant club song being played as the teams walk out. For example, at Southampton, they play When the Saints Go Marching In, Glad All Over by the Dave Clark 5 at Crystal Palace away, Blue Moon by Manchester City away. And I've noticed Bristol, for as long as I've been supporting Bristol City women, even though I'm a men's team fan too, I noticed the walkout theme song that the men use is obviously the one that the women can't use because the lyrics are 1 for the Bristol City, 2 for the boys in red, which of course the lyrics don't work. And people were talking about the matchday experience and music and stuff, but I feel compelled to ask the question this year, purely because the walkout music this year at Ashton Gate or all the home games seems to be golden by the K-pop Demon Hunters.
I'm a huge fan of that song. I think what's really, really important, to remember in all of this, we've got Bristol City men, we've got Bristol City women, we're united, we're the same, we're under the same crest, the same name, we're the same club. However, you need to treat us as slightly different entities because it's a different fan base, it's a different value proposition, it's a different vibe and energy in our matches. So I don't actually agree that we should be lifting and shifting exactly how we approach things in the men's game. And I'm keen to know what Emily's thoughts are on the walkout song because I bloody love a bit of K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah,
my 6-year-old boy is a huge fan, and so that gets him going and excited.
Yeah, no, I love the song as well. I think it's a routine for us, which is why we have that song. There's always constant discussions as to what that song should be because we have it as a women's team where we can decide what the walkout song is. We tell Emma and she presses play. So we have many discussions and disputes as to what that song should be. Do you have any suggestions?
Well,
I can bring it to the table. I'm not promising anything, but I can bring it to the table.
I was going to finish my question was, obviously, focus on getting to the WSL and staying there, but my suggestion was, and again, the was to re-record and adapt the lyrics to suit the women, because as much as people might like that song, Keyboard Demon Hunters, personally, I'm still not used to it as a football song. I just maybe that's just my opinion. But
is it modern? Is it progressive? Is it female empowerment? I think so, and I feel that aligns quite nicely with our vibe. So I think we're going to disagree here, Shahan. Yeah.
Whatever the team wants, whatever helps you guys as a team go out there and kick ass, play that. Really, and we're building our own identity as Bristol City Women's. And I quite like the fact that we're building it, you know, each year it's growing. And I think we have to form our own identity as a women's club. So I'd support that, you know. My other question was going to be actually around fan forums. And thank you guys for your time this evening. But I'm wondering whether you consider having a fan forum on a match day when there's like a load of people here. And that may impact on...
You haven't got much on a match day.
I was about to go on and say, I wouldn't expect Charlotte or any of the team, because, you know, I appreciate you've got stuff on that day. But I'm just wondering whether there's a room for some kind of fan forum about, you know, the on-pitch talent, as it were, but as a way, just because you've got like so many people here on that day, not like that's the only way you would do it, but maybe there's a variety of ways of having fan forums. Some like tonight, some maybe on match day, which can throw it up open to maybe a larger audience.
You know what I'm going to say? Emma's list is growing. Because I think that's a bloody brilliant idea. I think we know that this space, the supporters bar, is going to be open every match day now, ahead of every match day, which is great. We had a bit of a networking event the other week. We're open to ideas. I think that's a great idea. Having you know, an opportunity. It might not be a formal fan forum, but it might be something a little bit different. Q&A might not be as formal. Some of the questions that get thrown at us, but I do think that that's a really great idea, because this is our space on a match day. How do we listen to the supporters? It's the supporters bar. How do we listen to the supporters? And I think that's an absolutely great shout. Something else I want to say about the supporters bar, something I have mentioned to Liz and Donna on the bus on the way there, is we want this supporters bar on a match day to feel super inclusive, super welcoming. And if you've never been to a football match before and you're coming to your first ever football match and you might be thinking of coming by yourself, that people know, and the way that we communicate around this supporters bar, people know that there will be a warm welcome here. And I think there's more that we need to do. And I think Will's going to pick the brains or put a camera in front of some of our supporters tonight to give a bit of a flavour of who's here, who's going to be here, the usual suspects, if you like, who's going to be here on a match day, who's up for having a chat, whether that is discussing the starting lineup or whether that is reminiscing about the history around the women's team that we see on the walls around us. So I think that's a great shout around the fans' Q&A ahead of a match. But I also, we're going to lean in on your suggestions around how we make this supporters bar a super welcoming and inclusive space for all.
You could have a fan-led supporters forum, couldn't you, on the day? So it doesn't draw from the small tasks that you might be taken up with. Yeah, I was going to add to that. We've got a couple of season tickets because we like to encourage people from the community, and we would like an easier way of being able to use those with those we bring from the community to introduce them to the football than doing what we're currently doing, which is what I'm not going to tell you what we're currently doing, but we'd like a card so we don't have to do what we're doing to bring people to football games on those season tickets.
I don't understand.
We've got some extra season tickets which have purely been bought to have a turnover to try and encourage people to come. Okay. Basically, yeah. But sharing that.
Yeah, and it doesn't really meet your protocol, so we were wondering if there's something you can do to help us do that in a way that you'd like us to do that.
I don't know how to answer this, Sheridan. I'm going to look at the media and comms manager on how we handle this question.
Yeah, I mean, that's one for ticketing as well, as to how we work that out.
But your point is that you want to encourage more people to come.
So different people could use it on different weeks, yeah. I mean, in the men's game, you can forward your season tickets if you're not there. So it's that kind of vibe, I'm imagining.
I know that the ticketing team have been talking about like bring a friend for free type initiatives that we could be looking at. So could that be an option a couple of times a season if you are a season ticket holder?
2 years ago, you had a physical plastic season ticket card that you could give to someone if you were on holiday. You know, you've paid the season ticket price, so for someone to come and watch the match, you could just hand your card over. That was kind of stopped because I guess plastic and and obviously moving forward with computers, electronics and stuff. But I think what you're saying is, could we have plastic cards back, please?
Well, yeah, what I'm trying, the essence of it is, it's not because we can't go. We've bought them so we can bring people and children
So
in the community.
maybe it is an
that don't have
initiative
those
around, if you're a
opportunities.
dedicated fan, you come in often, that we're able to bring a friend for free, recommend a friend and bring a friend for free type initiative.
But you said that men can forward, for the men's team, they can forward on their season ticket. Why can't, or can we do that? Are we able to do that?
But you have to set up an account for the person.
Yeah, that's fiddly.
Right.
They have to be a member.
Yeah.
And you have to detach it from your email address so they can be downloaded. And that's just dodgy. What we're trying to do is bring underprivileged children, refugee children. We're using very dodgy workarounds, which we're not going to tell you that we are. And we'd like to not have to do that because it kind of is just a pain. And it's
But if they're... Oh, yeah, Emma.
I think if you ask ticketing, they should be able to get you just a physical. My dad refuses to have a digital season ticket, so he's got a card.
I was going to say that.
You. If you email me, I'll give you my email address and
I've got your email address.
But talking about groups where the cost might be a barrier, we've got a wonderful relationship with the Robbins Foundation, and we're always looking at because we've obviously got many seats empty. It's not an issue to look at one-off opportunities to engage with particular groups to give them their first experience at Ashton Gate.
I work for the NHS, and Blue Light Card is brilliant. I've only just discovered that there are sometimes free tickets. It's selective, it seems, with Bristol City women, but Southampton and I think a few others, Birmingham, they've always got the offer there, and I use it to encourage people to come. Is there some way you can promote that a bit more to people in the NHS and other services?
We've actually done free tickets to blue light holders, haven't we? It's not
some of the games.
Yeah, some of the games, yeah. And I'm not sure that those other clubs are doing free tickets. They're doing heavily discounted tickets, I think. But that is. It's something that we've enjoyed doing a couple of times a year, to give that as a free ticket as a thank you. So yeah, we're already doing it, and it's I think we feel like we're
Good
covering.
work.
Yeah, I think we're covering that.
Okay, Shahan?
Question for Charlotte. I remember the WSL season, a couple of seasons ago, where obviously we got relegated, and I went to every home game, and most home games, and I went to every away game as well. Trying to think, going forward for when we get promoted sooner or later, what do the club have in place now to make sure not just we stay in the WSL, but we can actually compete, for much higher things in our league, and also how excited can supporters be, or worried, considering all the kickoff times now in the WSL seem to be 12 p.m. or 11:55 a.m.
Yeah, I think that's a key priority for us right now, is looking at how we build a team that can go up and stay up. I think that's going up is one thing, but if you don't stay up, it becomes very difficult, and you become a team that just goes up and goes down. And there's real challenges with that, because the homegrown quota, as an example, one example is very different between WSL 1 and WSL 2. So to bring that to life, we've got 15 homegrown players in our squad this year. In the WSL, you only need 8. So if you go up and you sign, build a different squad, and then you get relegated, you lose half your squad. So there's real challenges, and we know that. So look, we want to get promoted. We want to win every game for the rest of the season. Of course we do. But we are building long-term here too, and we're looking at squad depth comes into that, to make sure that we have the right amount of players, the right quality of player. Game model comes into that, to make sure that we can play a way now that allows us to be successful in this league. But also when we go up, what we can't do is do what other teams have done previously. We're constantly learning lessons, right? I think I was speaking to Joe at the weekend at Palace, and one thing that they did when they went up, they then had that summer and they had to completely rebuild their squad. And it's such a small window to do that. And I think you saw under Laura, their previous manager, that by Christmas they were actually playing pretty well. You know, we played against them at my previous club, but it's too late by Christmas. You know, you can't wait till Christmas for your team to gel. So there's a lot that goes into a promotion push, and we're really aware of that. So yeah, look, we're looking to build a sustainable team. We're looking to build a workforce that is able to service that team. We're looking to build, you know, backroom staff that can provide the level of operations needed. Obviously, Emma's come back in a senior role. We have Tom too, who does a fantastic job. It's a huge operation to do to get to the WSL, and you know, it only gets bigger and better, the WSL, as does the WSL too. So yeah, I think, look, there's lots going on behind the scenes. Certainly
Go
on
on,
the
tell
pitch.
them about the other staff that you've got this year.
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot now. I might forget someone.
Fill in the blanks.
Okay, so I obviously brought an assistant in with me, Paul Temple. He came in as assistant coach to work alongside myself and Lauren. One of the big things that I was really cautious of, and that I know from my previous experience, was the output levels physically in the WSL are so much higher than WSL2. The game is completely different. So a real priority for me when I came in this role, and I've badgered Lowri since her day one, was that we needed a head of performance. We needed somebody who could come in, who had data, who understood the data, who could say, right, we know this is WSL level data. We know this is where we're at now, and this is the difference. And more importantly, this is how we're going to get there. So Chris Difford was appointed as our head of performance. He has fantastic experience, extensive experience with WSL clubs. He was previously at Bristol, so again, like almost bringing him home, which is a really nice kind of feel for him in the group. But what it's allowed us to do is have a real understanding of where we're at. Because if you don't know where you're at and you don't know where you're going, you're not going to be very successful. So we've got real clarity. We know where we're at now. We know where we need to be. And we know between now and May, we've got a lot of work to do. And I mean, you can vouch for kind of the changes we're looking at in training to make sure that, you know, we're getting closer to where we need to be. So one example of a new staff member that's come in, we have a head of wellbeing role that has gone out this week, which is going to be absolutely pivotal for these players, because you know, being an elite athlete and being a professional footballer is really difficult. It's not easy. It's you know, dealing with pressure, dealing with the demands of being an elite athlete is something that some of these players are not used to. So it's really important, again, that we provide a real good level of service to help these players develop a skill set to go and play at the very top. And I saw that, as I said, in my previous club, how important that was, that the Lionesses hit success overnight, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, like, how are we going to deal with this? And I think that's a really important shift in the women's game that we've seen over the past 2 years. And it's a role that, yeah, we're really, really excited about. So put me on the spot. I can't think of
two analysts now,
Two
right?
analysts, yeah. More analysts. We work them hard, don't we, Em? To make sure that we're fully prepped for what is to come, and that the level of service that we provide to the players means that, you know, ultimately what I want for the players is they can just go and perform. They don't have to second guess. They don't know who they're coming up against. They know tactically what they might do. They know the trends. They know in detail the individuals that they're playing against. So, you know, Em will know now when she plays Southampton on Sunday, who her direct opponent will be on the pitch. What are the trends of that opponent? Is she right-footed? Is she left-footed? What does she do? Because we want to give these players the best chance of being successful. So, yeah, 2 analysts. We have
talk about our
more
new
physios.
New nutritionist, isn't she fabulous?
New nutritionist, yep. So again, you know, the physical outputs will be higher now on the training days because we're trying to close the gap. So recovery becomes more important, fueling becomes more important, education around you know, performing different stages of the month become important. All these things actually players have never had, you know, this level of education before. And it's really important, as I said, that it's not just, you know, the X's and O's that I like on the tactics board. It's so much bigger than that now. And we feel that if we can provide a level of service and education to these players, you know, and help them, then it gives them the best possible chance of being successful. I can't remember what the question was. Did that answer it?
Yeah, I think you answered it.
Hello, Andrew.
Hi, how are you?
Good, How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. It's related to that, actually. Is there any plans to have press conferences for players at all?
I suppose it's making sure that there's appetite for press conferences. And it needs to be more than just a couple of journalists that are looking to sign up for. Gosh, I thought Rogan was saying it was a fly. Was there a fly? I was like, my gosh, I thought you were there saying, no, we can't do that. But there was a fly. That was really distracting. But the appetite has to be there because obviously, there's a lot of resources that goes into running things like that, and it's taking time away from the players. So if the appetite grows for these things, absolutely. But at the minute, you're doing an online press conference on a Friday, and how many people are turning up? It's usual suspects. Andrew, yeah, okay, yeah.
Three or four, normally.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Just related to that, can I just say, I don't know what after a game I'll go onto the BBC website and I'll go onto the section that's Bristol, and you'll sometimes see a report of what the men's team have done. And then I search to see, well, where's the talk of the women's team? And it's not
on
there.
BBC Sport, is that?
Yeah, on
So
BBC.
the BBC Sport don't cover the Championship, the WSL2.
Yeah, I know, but even like the local Bristol news page, there'll be a story about someone's cat that's gone missing, and it will make the Bristol news page. But it's like, I don't know what representations we can make to the Bristol news site, but there's a place for it in there. There's so many silly stories that get covered, and this is like a women's team in Bristol that's growing is a story that should be, and there are people that, in terms of getting the profile of the club out there. So I appreciate that's not something that's even in your gift. But if there's anything we can do as fans to help argue for that, then we'd certainly be keen to help with that. Just don't know who to shout at though. But so if you can point us in the right direction.
We've got to make it
He's in the red
easy.
coat,
Yeah, exactly. We've got to make it easy for fans to fall in love with this team and to know about this team, right? Especially when on a season like this season when there's so much at stakes, and if there's a win and we want to attract them to the next home game off the back of a great win, it has to be accessible, right? And we're never going to be able to fill the stadium if people in Bristol don't know about this team. So I agree with you. I don't know what the answer is,
I think things are moving. It's difficult. But, Charlotte does a pre-match before the game now, every single week. The YouTube thing, I know it's frustrating that, you're sat at a different place, but this is all about the coverage. And yeah, we invite all the locals as much as we can. I always make Emily do the interviews. She'll say she's always up for the BBC and stuff like that. So, we're going to try and get it out there as much as we can. And yeah.
You guys do in terms of the club. I really appreciate that after a game there's your interview, Charlotte, and there's always a player interview. And I look for that after a game, and I appreciate that you guys do that. So no, my B's with the BBC, I guess.
I'll pass it on.
To be fair, they do come and they record the interview, don't they? A lot of the time at home games. It's just, I guess, whether they make an article or not.
We do have live commentary for every home game. And again, I guess we're going to want that to be every game. But at the moment, it's every home game. So I am told by Emma that we've got time for one more question before we...
a question for Emily. Come on. She's had a really easy night.
Oh, God, now I'm going to have to
Football
choose.
question.
Can we both be quick?
You can both be quick.
For Emily, what was it like for you and the team when you became aware of the part acquisition by Mercury 13?
Nothing but excitement. I was... How should I answer this question? Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of change, as I alluded to earlier, and the day-to-day changes that the playing group have seen since Mercury 13 have come in have been leaps and bounds beyond the improvements I've seen season on season in the past. We've talked about the new nutritionist. The food that we have is fueling us how we should be fueled now. We fly to away days. We stay overnight on all of our away travels, even Birmingham, which few complaints about because people like to stay in their own bed. But no, the travel provisions, the food provision, and then just the quality of care and the amount of staff. And as Charlotte's alluded to, I think as you increase the challenge, you have to increase the support, because without that, you don't have people that can keep up with the challenge and people that can meet the challenge. And that's something that I've really felt, that this is a big step up this year for players. But that is being matched by the support and resource that we have behind us. So, yeah.
Hi, Emily. I know more recently, a while ago, it must have been like a month or two ago, there was criteria brought in for WSL2 players to be given a minimum salary so they don't have to like work like a second job or anything like that. I remember a few years ago you were working for a shirt, I don't remember the name, but they were a shirt sponsor at the time, like working there during the week. And I was trying to Google the name of that company, but I found out on their website there was a picture of you saying that you rejoined in November last year. So with that in mind, with the WSL2 player minimum salary criteria, is this article outdated or is this something you just want to do anyway?
No, that's a great question. It's good to know that I'm so well known around here. But yeah, no, when I was at Bristol before, that was a kind of requirement for my degree. So I finished my degree at Loughborough this summer. So for me, it's important, regardless of how the salaries are growing in the women's game, which is excellent because players don't need to have second, third jobs. This is something that people can commit all of their time to and all of their resources to, and it becomes a way of life, which I think is so important for like some of the younger people here today can see that this is a reality, that this can be a career. I think for me, it's important now that my degree's finished that I have something else that stimulates me outside of football. I always say that when I go and think about something else, that is mental recovery for me, because switch off time is so important because it's a full-time job now. But on that question, I think that the salary growth is something that makes people inspired to kind of follow into women's football.
That is a nice way to finish. Thank you so much.
She didn't mention what her degree was in. It was
clever, is our Emily.
How bright she is.
I did a mathematics with economics degree.
Clever
which
girl.
is finished now, thankfully. Any maths questions from the audience? We can finish one of them. No, please don't.
No, thank you. Thank you so much for all those amazing questions. And thank you to our panel. One round of applause for our panel, please.